Hi, my name is Terrence Cheng. I'm the president of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities system. The elements of Charles Yu's writing in Interior Chinatown are truly moving, creative, inspiring, and I would say really unique in so many ways. The way he uses the movie script format, the way he uses the second person point of view, his satirical tone, and how it all comes together to blend fiction with reality for the characters and for the story. It's something that I just found to be incredibly creative, which sounds ironic because it's a fictional work, but sometimes fiction is quite pedantic and it feels too close to reality. This is a book that moves you away from your reality, but still keeps you very grounded in the emotions and the passions of the themes and the characters. I love the way Charles Yu uses his characters not only as symbols of what is happening in society, but also as individuals on a journey that you can connect to. And as a novelist, if I were to write a third novel, that is certainly something that I would attach myself to, is that element from his work. And I think from every great work, is that you can find a unique and singular hero or heroine that takes you through the journey, but it's one that the readers connect to and are inspired by. And I think that's something that all great fiction writers strive to achieve. The Asian American identity is something that I live with every single day, and that is why Charles Yu's book, Interior Chinatown, was so moving to me. I think for me, as someone who came to this country as a very small child, who came up through the American education system, who was able to find his way, but also go through many of the struggles that are found in the book, the idea of performance as an immigrant, as someone who cannot hide the fact that their ethnic heritage and lineage is from a different continent, it's a challenge, and so I think for me, I find myself struggling at times with a sense of place. I've experienced this my whole life. I've experienced it as a child, I've experienced it as a student, I've experienced it as a professional as well, and it's something that I continue to try to find balance in each day. So it's hard to look at one particular incident, but I think as part of the Asian American experience and as part of the immigrant experience as a person of color, and one that cannot blend in or assimilate physically into the broader American society, it's something that we have to try to find a balance for every moment and every day. Charles Yu's book has many lessons that I think the Eastern community can learn from. One of them is having a very bold, raw, and truthful conversation about race and identity and how we go about viewing each other. In the book, there is a metaphor of the show that is fictional, black and white, and how Asians fit into this structure or paradigm of black and white. And there are themes or allusions to how it feels good to have white on your side, and how ultimately, black and Asians are working through the same system to try to be successful, right? And then there's also the idea presented that being successful within the system is not actually defeating the system, it's actually strengthening the system. That is one of the elements or one of the themes of the book that really stuck out to me. And I think that's something that we need to think about in higher education and at a great university like Eastern, where you can have a conversation and talk about the systems that are in place, how they affect people, how they mold and shape our journeys and the way we see the world, and ultimately, what are the pieces of this system that we think are wonderful and good and help us move forward as communities and as a society, but also to be very sober and honest about the parts of the system that are not necessarily productive and equitable for all members of our communities. So I think that is something that we could meditate on and really learn from Charles Yu's book, Interior Chinatown. I have many memories of reading books that were impactful to me throughout my student career and also throughout my career as an academic, as a writer, as a professor. I was actually looking at the archived books from the NEA's Big Read program, and so many of the books are my favorites. The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien, Beloved by Toni Morrison, Fahrenheit 451, authors like Jhumpa Lahiri. There's so many wonderful books, and I have memories of so many of them having an impact on me. I remember The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien being one of the first books I read in my own college experience as a freshman and being blown away by the story. I remember reading Beloved and the incredible, powerful detail and journey of the characters in Beloved by Toni Morrison. And they each mark moments in my own career as a student, as a reader, and as a writer, and how they impact you and how they move you. And ultimately, they influence you in different ways. And so, communally and in terms of a shared sense, I feel that I can carry that on, and I can continue to find new members of our community that can appreciate those kinds of books, and programs like the Big Read really help to expand that. NEA Big Read as a program, One Book, One Campus as a program, these are the kinds of programs that are instrumental to the progress in our intellectual communities and in our society, never more important than they are today. Today is a time when books, when reading, when authors are being attacked, when libraries are being attacked, when intellectualism and creativity is being politicized, and it's a very dangerous time. We have to be very honest about that. It goes back to a sense of McCarthyism, it goes back to a sense of totalitarianism. We have to be incredibly careful because these are things that are precarious. We cannot take them for granted. So programs like this reinforce the values. They reinforce the fact that ideation and creativity and the love of knowledge and sharing that knowledge is really key to a society that is going to flourish, one that embraces the sharing of ideas, that embraces the challenging of ideas and new thinking, as opposed to trying to limit or shut that down. So programs like the Big Read and One Book, One Campus are really key, especially in a higher education environment where that's really what we're all about. We need to be a place where we have safe spaces to have these conversations and expand the minds of our students, and to really help our faculty feel good about where they are and the work that they do. I was approached by the publisher to write a book about the artist from China, Chu Qizhen. And I'd never met him before. He lived this incredible life that spanned an entire century in Chinese history. But I chose him because of the arc of his life, because his life literally mapped this incredible time during Chinese history that really helped to shape not just China, but the entire world. And his ability to persevere, to continue to evolve as an artist, to be a great artist, one that ultimately is more famous or recognized after his life, was really inspiring to me. And I felt that it was someone I could connect to because the way he pushes his craft is the way that I would like to think that I can push my craft, and that writers should push their craft at all times throughout their entire lives. Because even at the end, he was nearly 100 years old and he was still experimenting with his work. He had never felt he was finished. He never felt like he was done. He was never satisfied, and that to me was very motivating. Unfortunately, I don't think I am as well versed as maybe I would like to be in that space, but I know that Eastern has incredible talent here, and that you all, with your expertise in academia and scholarship, will certainly have remarkable artists for the students to engage with.